Okay, another fantastic session at our regular MD to MD special interest group for AI. As always, I'm joined with our resident expert, Niël Malan. Now, Niël, this week you started by posing a rather interesting question to the group. What weighs more, 20 pounds of bricks or 20 feathers? Now, why did you do that?
Hi, Tom. Yes, it was an interesting poll that I came across, an experiment that some people ran with large language models to see how they deal with ambiguity and also to test some reasoning capabilities. So I posed that same question to the group, let them answer, and then gave them a little bit of additional context, 5 extra words to see how it would change the outcome. And what was interesting is I ran my own experiments, tested across Google's Gemini 2.5 Flash, Gemini 2.5 Pro, OpenAI's 4.1 Mini, 4.0, O3 reasoning, used Claude 3.7, Claude 4 Opus, and the new Grok 4 from XAI. And across all of those, the results with our human participants almost exactly matched the results from the large language models, where we had about roughly half of them getting the answer correct on the first turn, and then with a little bit of extra context, it jumped to about 90%, which is what we got with the large language models as well. And I found that quite interesting.
I was one of those people who fell exactly into that trap and got it wrong. I now will admit, and then got it right. So what else did we cover? There's lots of ground, obviously the movers and the shakers of the large language models. You know, we always cover that, but there was a lot of chat again about risk, security, workflow automation. So of all the things we covered, what were the things that particularly stood out to you?
So we covered a lot of practical applications again, which is one of the areas that I enjoy talking about. It's all nice seeing all of these fancy YouTube videos and articles about how AI is going to change the world, but I get quite excited by it actually making changes and being applied. So we covered a couple of topics from the basics, like having AI assist with invoice processing inside of a business. And I even gave a demonstration of a business analyst that I built that essentially can conduct a live interview with a participant, and where you can then run through a business process. You share your screen with the AI, and you talk through your process, and it documents the process and draws flow diagrams as you go along. It asks clarification questions if you haven't given it enough information, just as a way to also show how what we're used to in terms of normal text-based interactions is also changing very quickly to become full multimodal. You have voice and images and text all happening at the same time with tool use, and it changes the dynamic entirely of what's possible.
Yeah, that was very impressive seeing all of that unfold in real time. So what about the risk and data security? Again, always comes up as a challenge.
Yeah, that's a discussion that comes up almost every time. We covered how it's useful to have tools like Microsoft's Copilot that's integrated within your ecosystem if you're a Microsoft house, your business runs on Microsoft. Similarly, if you're a Google house and you use Google Workspace, having Gemini in there makes it quite easy for you to not have to worry so much about the data security and compliance, because you've already got your data hosted with that provider. But similarly, we also had the question of, but what about OpenAI? Because ChatGPT is vastly superior in some aspects with the capabilities, but that then brings with it some data governance issues. So security was a topic that we discussed quite a lot, guided people to mostly try and use the tools that are available within your ecosystem. So if you're in Microsoft, use the likes of Power Automate to see how much you can get done, just to remove those external risks. There's a couple of people that commented on very useful tools that they found. that's able to achieve very specific outcomes, and it's click and go. Let's take the invoice example, upload an invoice and it does everything for you. It takes the invoice, reads it, plugs it back into your CRP or your ERP or CRM system. But luckily, they did end up reading the terms and conditions and terms of use for those services. And then, unfortunately, in many cases, they just plainly unacceptable in terms of the governance risk and what they use your data for. In most cases, they blanketly say that they will use your data to train their models. And for most organizations, that's just unacceptable, especially if you're in a sensitive sector. So we discussed how you can then build, using some of these modern tools, similar kinds of capabilities within your estate. If you're in Google using GCP, if you're in Microsoft using Azure, it's a bit more work. It takes a little bit more effort. It's not just click and go like with the published services, but you can get the same result without having to go and offer up your data in exchange for the ease of use.
Yeah. And then a new one this time around that's quite interesting was actually some talk about design and using AI to help turbocharge design. And there was a bit of talk around style transfer as well.
Yeah, the one interesting it's an outcome that a lot of people have come across is because you have large language models or generative AI in general being somewhat random in its inner mechanics, the way that it works. If you apply that to a way where you want the output to be very deterministic, those two almost clash. You can't really get the one with the other, or it's very difficult. Similar to how when you're doing video generation using Google VO3, it is quite difficult to get very good character consistency so that your movie character looks the same way in the one scene that it does in the next scene. And that's a function of how these models are put together. And for architects, that poses a problem because you don't want your desk finish that you want to change from a light wood to a marble to all of a sudden change the entire layout for the room. So one of the suggestions there was to look at things like style transfer, which is also a machine learning area, but it's much better at retaining all the core principles and facts almost that live inside of an image and just transferring a specific style onto that image. Or using the likes of Unreal Engine, the gaming engine, to render those kinds of outputs in almost real time. So some good discussions.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you very much, Niël, as always. Thanks for sharing your insight and knowledge. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, Tom. Have a good day.
All right. Take care.